on the critical issue of rising crime, and particularly appears related to a gang war taking place in other countries in the region. This issue has the attention of the law enforcement, and it continued to be monitored in case locally. I want to take a moment to speak directly to our young people. Engaging in these activities lead to only two things: death and imprisonment. Listening to the mother of the young man involved, I heard the voice of a woman in deep distress and despair and pain for her child. This is the impact of such a lifestyle. Immense suffering. This is a plea to our young people. Think before you act. Violence is never the answer. Our country is too small, and our communities are too interconnected, with friends and family closely linked, for us to endure the divisions that gang violence often creates. To those who consider engaging in such activities, I firmly say, not here. This is not who we are. To the community at large, and as Minister of Justice and also Minister of Youth, I assure you that I am committed to restoring peace and safety in our community. We are intensifying our efforts to collaborate with neighboring countries to combat the spillover effect. Furthermore, we are looking into a comprehensive plan to ensure that this does not happen. But we cannot do this alone. It is imperative that we as a society come together to support these efforts: community violence, community vigilance, reporting suspicious activities, and fostering a culture of lawlessness are critical steps every citizen can take. It is also mentioned out there that the Minister of Justice allowed the entertainer to come in. And I would like to make mention that this Minister of Justice nor the acting Minister of Justice have permitted anyone to enter this country. We have not given any permit of any kind to the individual. It was solely based on the fact that the promoters of wherever this thing happened allowed this person to come in, probably under a tourist watch, and we, as government was never informed that this individual was on the island. That is the reason why we have an investigation. So this minister, again, I will reiterate, this Minister of Justice, nor my acting Minister of Justice, signed anything for a promoter or for the entertainer to come to this island. And secondly, there was also no economic license issued by the Minister of TIAT for such a performance. So, as I also go forward, I would also like to mention, with regards to the political guidelines that was drafted and a decision based on the COM, is still being vetted by YEZET, and where it came back with their elucidations of adjustments. The adjustments was made yesterday and is sent back to them for the final vetting and will be publicized also in short. I would also like to mention that Batch 7, with regarding to the National Decrees of Justice Workers, will be sent out to the Governor's office today. I would also like to make mention that my name was also mentioned in that batch, in which I have also informed my colleagues and also through FBB Finance that it would be removed and will be handled separately, as I am the minister and my documentation for all the years that has been pended is of course based on a court verdict and should be rectified as such. Batch 8, 9, and 10 are being fine-tuned. They're all finalized, and they're being properly prepared to also be sent to the governor. So 8, 9, and 10 includes basically 75 individuals that will be getting their lunch bracelet. Human errors are made, such as name mistakes, etc. So they have to be going back and forth in order for it to be properly done before the signature of the governor on the lunch bracelet, and also for my signature or the acting ministers of justice signature. I would also like to make mention, I held it back for a long time because in this political world, everything seems to be a bashing from one minister or former minister. But because this minister has clear understanding of the Dutch language and understands what a LBHAM means, and by reading it and also sitting down with the staff who was responsible along with the former Minister of Justice, with regarding to which regulates the legal positions of justice workers, example for the police, immigration, and national detectives, are now faced with legal issues. And is also being vetted by judicial affairs, because in order for phase 2 to be executed, the proper law, whatever was given to the governor, as I understood, was not what they received back with signature, which does not allow, the decree does not allow for the justice workers currently to be retroactively paid from 10-10-10. This is also a major setback for the Ministry of Justice. I was trying to get this thing done beforehand, as I didn't need to put my colleagues in despair as, wow, we have a setback again. But since there's a lot of things being said about the Minister of Justice, I would like to make mention that these human errors or deliberate mistakes were done by the previous government. And therefore, this minister now is faced to have it rectified in order for the governor to sign again, and in order for my colleagues to be able to get their salaries adjusted from 10-10-10 forward. Hence the reason every national decree that we have right now is also based on the 1st of January, 2023.
We held a meeting with senior officials from the Royal Caribbean Group to update them on the progress of the marketplace. I'm pleased to announce that they have fully endorsed moving forward with the project under the newly revised designs. As you may recall, we collaborated with vendors to create new design plans, which we presented to our co-financiers, the Royal Caribbean Group. These plans are in line with the broader Pittsburgh's beauty and incorporate insignificant adjustments to fit this vision. The updated design emphasized the cultural heritage of the island, particularly the Salt Pond, aiming to celebrate and reflect on our history. This cultural focus is intended to elevate both the aesthetic and historical value of the project, making it a landmark for residents and visitors alike. The architect, who joined the meeting via Zoom, provided a thorough explanation of the changes, including updates to the roofing and materials. These adjustments were made to ensure the project's durability, cost effectiveness, and alignment with the cultural theme. The architect also explained the rationale and benefits of these modifications. The financial plan of the project was also outlined, detailing the sources and the allocation of funds. The project will be financed equally, with 50% of the funding provided by our co-financiers and the remaining 50% by the government of St. Martin. The balanced financial strategy is designed to ensure adequate funding while leveraging the expertise and resources of our partners and government support. The unveiling of the new design, as well as the groundbreaking ceremony, will be announced within short. During that meeting, the meeting also highlighted the growing trend among younger travelers to use debit and credit cards instead of cash. This was also provided by the Royal Caribbean Group. They wanted to adapt this trend, we need to then ensure that the vendors and local communities are equipped to accept card payments, which could enhance the tourist experience and boost local spending. This was one of the complaints they received from their customers. So we discussed organizing workshops and training sessions to educate vendors on the benefits and technical aspects of card payments, and we'll be following up on this initiative. Additionally, promoting the availability of nearby ATMs will ensure convenience for those who prefer to or need to use cash, complementing the shift towards cashless payments system. Another important aspect was the wayfinding signage to guide tourists from the port to the new marketplace was also emphasized. Proper signage is crucial for helping visitors navigate easily, enhancing their overall experience, and encouraging foot traffic to the market. All parties reaffirmed their commitment to the project under the new design framework. The collaboration between government and co-financiers and contracts is expected to deliver a successful, culturally enriched beautification of Phillipsburg. We also agree to closely monitor expenditures, maintain financial transparency, adapt to emerging tourism trends, and facilitate visitor navigation and ensure all necessary permits have been secured. We have noticed concerns regarding the energy crisis and the increase in gun violence, which has raised questions about their impact on the island's reputation. However, our marketing and PR firms monitoring the North American market has reported that these issues has not gained significant traction in the media, with only limited coverage in Puerto Rico and a small mention on ABC outlet in Canada. While it is crucial to address these issues directly by resolving the energy crisis and reducing crime, our efforts to maintain St. Martin's image must continue. The international media is currently focused on major global events such as the US elections, the war in Ukraine and Gaza, political developments in Europe, the Microsoft glitch, and the Paris Olympics, which minimized attention to our situation. Nevertheless, we must continue to highlight St. Martin's unique qualities and attract a diverse range of visitors. To this end, we discuss the need to increase investment in social media and digital media campaign in the short term. Our PR firms have agreed to focus on digital strategies, explore cooperative marketing opportunities, and continue monitoring the media coverage of the island. They will also work with influencers to amplify a positive narrative.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social and health insurances.
Focusing in on fostering resilient crisis management, how would you define the concept of regional collaboration in context of fostering resilient crisis management?
Well, in any case, crisis management is based on network, knowing people, knowing what they can do for you, what you can do for them. So, in that way, the project touches the exact point on what crisis management is. And working on crisis management, you have to realize one thing: it's not a one-man show. It's not something one organization could do. It's not one country could do. And especially a country like St. Martin, where you're in the middle of the sea. You've got smaller islands around you. You have to be quite resilient, but you have to rely on yourself. And like I said, crisis management is not something you do yourself. You have to do with others. So in this case, the smaller incidents on the island, you'd probably use all the different departments and even private organizations and companies. But when it gets a bit bigger, you're going to have to look across the waves.
Absolutely. So I want you to highlight there, what are some of the key benefits of regional collaboration and crisis management compared to individual country efforts, as you indicated?
So it's in the beginning. If I tell you truthfully, you won't see the benefits right from the beginning. And why? Because people really want to see results right there and then. This is something you have to build, and it takes time. And the only time you actually see the results is when actually somebody is in dire need of help. So in a way, it's one of those unfortunate topics where you put a lot of effort in right from the beginning, and you only see the results once you're in dire need. That makes it complicated. It puts pressure on politics. It puts pressure on people prioritizing their day-to-day job. But the benefits are always at the end of the game.
Could you provide some examples, and especially coming out of your experience? You said 20 plus years of crisis management experience. Provide some examples of successful regional collaborations in crisis management and their outcomes.
Well, I'll take it a bit further. There's something called international assistance. And in that case, when countries, even the richest countries in Europe or in Asia or the Middle East, Turkey was a good example recently. I mean, that's a pretty solid country, and still they could not handle the devastation, and reach the people that needed the help. You can't do this by yourself. So you need to have the assistance of your neighbors, or in this case, people from far beyond your neighbors. It's very simple. I mean, look at any devastating catastrophe in any area. You're going to need your neighbors. So if you look at it from a preparedness point of view, there are lots of projects where there's only exercising and training, but you train together with other countries, other islands. People do this right now all over the world. They're training on, search and rescue. A number of exercises just completed in Austria, in the Scandinavian countries. So countries from different countries participate in these exercises, and then when the actual occurrence appears, an earthquake, a tsunami, or whatever, these same countries actually provide the assistance at that time. Philippines was a nice example. Nepal is a nice example. It's not nice for those people, but at the time they needed the help, they got it.
What would you say are some of the common challenges or barriers that we can face as a small island developing state when trying to build regional collaboration for crisis management?
This is challenges. Every country has challenges, and I don't want to make it sound like St. Martin is any different. But every country has their challenges, and it's always priorities. It's always Like I said before, you have to put in a lot of effort in the beginning to see the results later on. You have to have that kind of vision, but you do need the resources to be able to do those kind of things. And that's a challenge that every nation has, even the richest nations, I must admit. But the smaller nations, the impact is larger. The island itself only has that many people. And I give this example to my international friends and colleagues. Normally, they have this assumption that if something happens, then a number of people are just not going to be able to function well. In this case, if you do that to an island with only a population of, 60,000 people, that means a lot of people are just not going to be able to function. So you have to rely on international help. It's just not something one government or one country can do. So challenges, absolutely, but they're no different. The scale is just different.
Next week, I will convene a meeting with the Ministry on the Road Fund. Its establishment will ensure structured finance to road maintenance, as well as provide a framework to ensure proper oversight. With regards to the complaints about the choice to undertake these works on a cruise ship day, I would like to inform the population that all factors were considered when the decision was taken. As Minister, I reviewed the proposal and asked about the status of cruise ships, availability of the contractor, alternative routes, as well as exemptions which were given to all heavy equipment, ambulance, and law enforcement vehicles, as well as tour buses. I took all factors into consideration, weighing the short-term economic impact with the concerns around safety. While I understand the concerns of all tourism stakeholders, especially taxi drivers and tour operators, unpopular decisions oftentimes have to be taken for the greater good. And I ask for your understanding in the decision that I take, and I took the decision to carry out the works, and I stand by that decision. While we encountered some challenges, including persons attempting to sneak behind the barricades, increasing traffic, we were still able to quickly finalize all works. With the introduction of the Road Fund, alongside a more long-term vision for improved network and infrastructure, these urgent major works will be less and less necessary. As such, Phase 2 of the project will involve an overhauling of the entire AJC Brower Road, including improved drainage. On my second topic of Dutch Quarter, with regards to the closure of ATLH Road in Dutch Quarter, the current roadworks are part of the larger EU infrastructure project for the neighborhood and will connect all the neighborhood with the sewage plant near the Lions roundabout. The current project involves removing the sewage pits. The current project, which involves removing the sewage pit, was scheduled for June 2023, but unfortunately was not executed. The ministry communicated a timeline of 6 weeks for this project, and we are now in week 4, and based on the flow of work, remain on target. The road is scheduled to reopen for vehicular traffic on Monday, August 5th, and we are of course monitoring the impact that the anticipated rain this weekend may have, but we do expect to be ready in time for the reopening of schools. Over the weekend, I was in Dutch Quarter to inspect the project and also the surrounding road infrastructure, and I wish to give the following updates to the area, asked by some of the persons that I met in the Dutch Quarter community. Regarding Gibbs Drive, where only a part of the road was hard surfaced, I have asked the team to review the situation, including the budget and logistics plan, to ensure that this can be finalized. Noting the very bad state of the road, this has my urgent attention. Regarding Richardson Drive and Caracas Drive, considerations were not made in the past for the placement of utilities underground. As such, the road will have to be dug up again to place the utilities underground. During my time as minister, I have called for increased dialogue between GEBE and VROMI, and this situation proves how important this communication with all stakeholders is. And finally, the paving of Manila Drive is indeed included in the CAPEX 2024-2025 road harvesting project. We will endeavor to carry this out as soon as possible with all the persons necessary at the table. I do want to encourage persons, though, to take note of the wrecks on the Manila Drive and to begin to remove them to help government in assessing the condition of the road for hard surfacing. I appreciate your continued cooperation and understanding as we work to improve the quality of life for all. And finally, on my third topic, hurricane preparedness and trenching, the ministry has been busy and continues to be busy with hurricane preparations. Haulers have announced weekly district cleanups, and the ministry held a meeting last week regarding expectations to ensure areas are properly serviced. The ministry is busy preparing a car wreck removal initiative to ensure that we address this issue strategically. I will share more on this next week, but in the meantime, I ask that you remain vigilant as to the number of abandoned and wrecked cars in your neighborhood and inform your community leaders and CCPOs. Cleaning of trenches in Dutch Quarter and Point Blanche was finalized last week, and this week, cleaning of the MPC trench commenced. This morning, I took a drive up to the area, and I'm happy to report that most of the trench is already completed, and work in the neighboring trenches, including Ebenezer Trench, will continue this week. Finally, we are in the end stages of dealing with the trenching tender. As a ministry, we sought legal advice on the situation, recalling that since 2022, no contract has been in place to maintain trenches and waterways. The realization of a contract will ensure regular maintenance and support the return of the flood pumps in the Great Salt Pond. The next step will be to contact all bidders and inform them of the way forward. Thank you.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXV, yeah, your social health insurances.
Top story tonight, Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley is very worried about the prevalence of assault weapons in Barbados. She made the comments during her contribution to the Bail Bill 2024. Concern has been rife from all segments of society about the 26 murders on record so far for 2024, up from 21 recorded in 2023. 17 of the murders this year were committed using firearms.
There is no place in any civilized society, and certainly this country of ours, for assault weapons to be used, to be in possession, to even be in a museum. If you want to know what it looks like, watch it in a movie. But there is no place for it.
Ms. Motley says if left to her, she would ban all guns.
As Attorney General, I made the point very often that left to me, if I could deal with Barbados as a greenfield society, Mia Motley, I'm talking now with the government or anybody, I would ban all guns because I don't really see the need for them in a civilized society. But the horse has bolted from that stable long time. And the capacity to be able to carry us back to a place where Australia or New Zealand or others are is not an easy trek. And the country may well have to have that conversation in the future. And you will know where I stand on it.
The bill was introduced in Parliament by Attorney General Dale Marshall, who pointed out that defendants will have to provide satisfactory evidence as to why they should be granted bail. He says the bill is based on South Africa's legislation, which has constitutional positions similar to Barbados.
So you're not getting bail unless you adduce evidence which satisfies the court that exceptional circumstances exist, which in the interest of justice permit your release. So you must produce evidence. So you can't just come to court and say that my client has a job, my client is a father of 4 children, my client is a hardworking man, my client has not had any other convictions, this is my client's first charge. Coming to court and making those bold statements are now a thing of the past, or they will become a thing of the past.
Acknowledging that if crime makes people feel unsafe, it could have an impact on the economy, Mr. Marshall said the authorities are redoubling efforts instead of panicking. The
level of firearm seizures is at an all-time high. We are going out there and intercepting vehicles and getting firearms, and not just old guns. We're getting AK-47s, those kind of things. Those are things that are being seized by the police service. Glocks. Those are things that are being seized by the police service that are in the hands of the criminal element.